What if death wasn't the end, but the beginning of something much worse? In Until Dawn 2025, 5 friends are trapped in a haunted loop of exploding bodies, masked killers, and twisted science, and the only way to escape, survive the night, or become part of it. Let's unravel this time loop horror one death at a time. The movie starts with a girl named Melanie trying to escape an underground cave, but something comes from behind and grabs her. But she is able to escape it and comes to the surface, but then a man in a mask comes and kills her. But what she said at that moment raises some questions in the viewer's mind. She said not to kill her again. A few weeks have passed, and we see a group of friends moving in a car. They have been searching for clues about the missing sister of one of their members, named Clover, but they were unsuccessful until now. It was supposed to be their last stop in the search. When they reached there, Clover went inside the shop at the pump station and asked the shopkeeper, by showing him her sister's pic, if he knew something about her. The shopkeeper hinted that a lot of people go missing in the area of Glore Valley. They went into the Glore Valley, and it was raining heavily due to heavy rain and storms. It was very difficult to drive the car, but suddenly they reached a place where there was no rain, not a single drop of it. It was a water wall. There was a house, and they went inside it. It was empty, with an hourglass, and the time was almost up, according to it. Megan, who was feeling sick, went into the bathroom. Nina, while looking around, sees a calendar dated the 24th of October 1998, meaning the house has been empty for quite some time now. Abe was filming the house. He saw a notice board where a lot of notices were pinned, while Clover was outside, looking at the strange weather phenomenon. She heard someone call her name and saw someone in the mist. Inside the forest, she thought it was Melanie, so she went into the mist into the forest. Max saw her go into the mist and started calling her Abe, while uncluttering the notices on the board. Finds out that it was filled with pictures of people who went missing, and one of them was of Melanie. Then the sky began to darken. Clover, even though she was able to hear Max calling her, but was not able to make out where the sound was coming from. Suddenly, Max put a hand on her shoulder to bring her out of the mist, like she was standing just at the boundary of the water. While Nina, while looking at a register for guests, finds Melanie's name in it several times. This place was Glore Valley. Nina also noticed that the hourglass is now inverted, meaning that the time has started. Then they heard a noise, and they went out to see their car standing in the mist with its engine and lights on. They got scared and started searching for a landline phone. As the mobile networks were not working, Max, Megan, and Clover went into the basement to search for the landline phone while Nina and Abe stayed at the window to look for the person in the car. The basement had windows, and they also found the phone, but it was not working. Abe heard some noise and went to check it out, leaving Nina alone. Nina again heard the noise and also went to check it out. As she turned on the light, she saw a masked man and the body of Abe sliced into pieces. The people in the basement hear the scream of Nina, and Max sneaks a peek to see the body of Nina lying on the ground and the masked man standing beside her. He ran back, and all 3 of them hid at different places, but the masked man found and killed both Max and Megan. Clover was able to stab him with a knife, but it did not affect him a bit. Clover was able to run into the forest, where she saw a woman whom she was about to call, but the masked man killed Clover at that moment. The sand in the hourglass ends, and a machine starts to turn it over again, and we see Nina again writing her name in the register, and we can see them all alive, but with injury marks. They came together at the notice board to see their pictures being added to the missing people's lineup. They realized what was happening as all of them remember dying, and they also realized that the night had started again. Then they heard the sound of the door slamming, and they came to the main room to see the door opening and closing by itself. They were able to close the door by jamming it with a rod, but then Megan started to feel bad. Then she behaved like a possessed woman. All the lights went out and it was dark. When they tried to look for Megan, she was not there. They found her in the notice room, floating in the air and with black eyes. She started to talk like all the persons were talking through her, and she told them not to let her in. Then she fell to the ground. They heard someone at the gate. Then they heard Melanie, Clover, and Max open the door. But there was no one there. They came out and saw an old house in front of them which was not there earlier. Suddenly, something threw Clover towards the house, and Max inside the house, and then jammed the door. Clover was dragged inside the old house. Max wanted to go and rescue Clover, but Nina and Abe stopped and tried to put some sense into it. But he did not listen to them and went outside. Abe convinced Nina that they can save themselves, and they will come back for others later. Clover, while in the old house, gained consciousness and saw an old woman sitting in the chair. She tried to escape, but that woman got her into a trance-like state. But before that, she told her to survive the night or become part of it. The scene changes, and we see Max entering the old house. As soon as he enters the gate, Abe and Nina run from the house and attempt to drive away in the car. But they are stopped in their tracks by a huge monster-type thing. They return to the house, but as soon as they were about to descend from the car, they were killed by the masked man. Max, while searching for Clover, goes past the masks which were present there, and as he does, we can see that one mask is missing. While searching, he sees her wearing the mask, and before he could communicate, she slashed his throat, killing him. Then she went outside in the same trance, where she was killed by the masked man as he drove her over with the car. We see the hourglass resetting again, and everyone is alive, but their condition is deteriorating. They blocked the door and all hid inside the restroom. They discussed what Clover experienced. Survive the night or become part of it. Abe went to the wash basin and opened the tap and drank water from it. He also gave Nina a glass filled with water, and then the remaining three also shared a glass as they took a sip each. While talking, Abe starts to cough and suddenly explodes out of nowhere. They were terrified. No one expected this, and then it was Nina's turn. The remaining three came out of the washroom, scared, where Megan was the first to go. First her leg, and then her stomach exploded, followed by her head. Clover asked Max to kill her, but he could not do it. Soon, he also exploded. We see someone coming while whistling. It was the shopkeeper at the gas station who told Clover that they cannot survive by sitting it out, and then Clover exploded. Just like the rest, the clock again resets, and the night starts again. They searched and found out about the person whom Clover saw last. His name was D. Hill was brought on to work with the survivors after a mining disaster which killed 1,100 people. Nina realized that the door in the basement is the front door, but as she opened the door and heard the horrible sound of something, she quietly closed it again. They realized that whatever is doing this wants to keep them in fear, which is why every night they encounter something different. They also found a research tape showing a person's behavior as he goes through the trauma and turns into a monster. And then they hear from Dr. Hill, who told Clover to come out alone. Clover, trying to get some answers, obliged. She ran out into the forest, and Max and Megan went in search of her. Thinking that Clover might be dead, Nina also injured Abe, and waited along with him until the masked man came and killed them both. Clover, while walking through the forest, got trapped in a bear trap and was dragged into a cave. Max and Megan encounter the man turned into a beast, and Megan becomes the next victim. Max found Clover, and while he was trying to rescue her from the shackles, we see Melanie, who was something else now. Max was able to remove the shackles at the right time, and as Melanie attacked, he put the shackles on her face and ran away. But realizing what had happened, they decided to kill themselves so they could come back again and save their friends. First, Max killed Clover, followed by himself as he drank water dripping and exploded. Clover goes through a memory turned into a nightmare, and then she wakes up. They also find out that Abe has started to turn into a monster, but they do not tell him. They started counting the nights to assess the time that had passed. Only 2. Realize that it's the 13th night, and maybe their last chance, because 13th was the maximum number of entries of a person's name in the register. They also realized that Megan was missing. Maybe she was no more, but they did not remember passing all that time here. But they had videos on Abe's mobile, which showed horrible footage. It also had footage of Megan going after Dr. Hill to get some information. Then they heard sirens and saw their killers coming towards the house. So Clover and her friends decided to go through the tunnel and find Megan or die trying. They went inside and then entered a building through a window, where they were attacked by human-turned-beast creatures, and they were able to run away from them, until they reached a room which had a glass at the roof with the masked killer standing on top, and they told Clover to go on a search for Megan. While they deal with the killer, Clover went on, where she was attacked by Melanie, but she managed to kill her. By fighting together, Max, Abe, and Nina also succeeded in killing the masked killer this time. Clover was able to avoid the humanoid beast creatures on her way to reach Megan, who was locked in a room with a chained beast herself. Clover, while trying to find the keys to the door, ended up in Dr. Hill's room, where Dr. Hill revealed his plan and his work. Clover noticed the water dripping from the pipe on top and silently mixed some water in Dr. Hill's coffee. He drank it and exploded soon. Clover finds the keys and unlocks Megan and saves her before the beast gets free from his chains. They all kept running, chased by humanoid beasts, until they found their way out. The time had ended, and they had survived the night. They saw the dawn and were relieved to see it finally end. The weather also normalized, and finally they got in their car and left. But then we see the monitor screens in Dr. Hill's room, and then we see a car parking and hear the familiar whistle of Dr. Hill, and the movie ends. But does it? So they escaped the valley, survived 13 nights of madness, but that final whistle, it tells a different story. Was it really over, or just another reset? Let me know what you think happened in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell, because horror doesn't rest, and neither do we.